Thank you very much, Don. I see that picture was just before I retired from the porn industry. Thank you to...
I don't know about that.
Yes, sorry, a previous career. Yeah, I lost the mustache a few years ago. Thank you very much to Reed Corporate for allowing us to present today. It's always a wonderful event here. Normal disclaimer, this presentation is on the stock exchange and our website. So, post Integra Mining, taken over by Silver Lake in 2013, the team were looking for another project. This came across my desk. I really didn't fancy it that much, but I took a site visit. And when I saw the rocks there, we had to have it. So we bought it privately in 2013, did some work, and brought it to market in 2014. And then spent probably the next 5 years drilling for a deep porphyry we were convinced was driving this whole system. Culminated in a 1.8 kilometer deep hole number 49. And one of our consultants said, well, look, you're a junior explorer, you don't have that much money, why are you drilling deep holes for porphyries? Why don't you look for some higher grade material closer to surface? Very next hole, hole 50, was the discovery hole, and we've been drilling out the discovery of the Cayley lode ever since. And we've just finished that a couple of months ago. And one of the points that Don made about how much money goes into the ground, last quarter, the March quarter, 87% of our expenditure was in the ground. So we're very proud of the amount of money that we put in the ground. We don't fly business class, we don't stay in fancy hotels, but we drill a lot. And if you don't drill, you don't find. So we did find a new style of mineralization, the magma butte style at the Cayley lode. It's never been seen before in Australia, but typically high-grade copper, gold, silver, vertically extensive deposits, and in our case, we've traced this system over 1,500 meters strike and down to a kilometer depth on 3 mineralized structures. So there's heaps of opportunity for additional discovery, but we've just focused on drilling out the near-surface Cayley lode, and we've got a lot of work to do in drilling this thing down to that kilometer depth that we've defined it to. So just a bit of the corporate slide. The share price has been on a bit of a slide. I think people have been waiting for this resource estimate to come out for some time. The drilling's done. I'm crunching the numbers now and writing the announcement. So if I haven't been at the booth, it's because I've been doing something much more important. The team, again, mainly ex-Integra Mining, but with the inclusion of Rob Dennis, who's a mining engineer, very well known in the industry as a project executor, project builder. I met him at Lion Ore and was very impressed by him, and we're very lucky to have him on the board, and he's a great contributor. So the project is in Western Victoria. We were a first mover. We've got a dominant land position of about 1,500 square kilometres, and most of the focus was in the circle there at Thursday's Gossan, where we were, as I say, convinced that there was a porphyry at depth, and we still are convinced, but in the interim we've come across some high-grade structurally controlled mineralization. So focusing on Thursday's Gossan, it's a porphyry system. The beige outline is the porphyry, but the chalcocite blanket, which is developed as a weathering product, a secondary product of the structurally controlled high-grade mineralization, it sits between 30 and 80 meters below surface. We've just recalculated that resource, so that number up there will change. We're now doing it within an open pit optimization, including the Cayley lode high grade, which is on that northwest trending structure. And we also have another project over near Ararat, about 35 kilometers away, with a VMS deposit. It's copper, gold, silver, zinc deposit, quite sweet grade, and that also features as a restatement of a resource in the whole announcement coming up. So we did focus on looking for this porphyry at depth, and that, as I say, ultimately culminated in a 1.8 kilometer hole drilling from north to south. Scott Halley says to us, why don't you look for some of this higher grade structurally controlled mineralization that you found, but look for it closer to surface. So hole 50 was designed, targeting that black dash line, which is what we call the ultramafic contact fault. And as I say, the rest is history. The discovery was 32 meters at almost 6% copper and a gram gold from 62 meters depth. Some really beautiful high-grade intervals in there, 2 meters at 40%. And the purple mineral is bornite, 60% copper as a mineral. And on the other photograph on the left, the silvery mineral in amongst that purple background is chalcocite, which is 80% copper as a mineral. So it's the occurrence of those minerals that gives us those extreme high grades. And it was really beautiful to see this stuff come out of the ground. But we've now finished drilling it out. The ultramafic is highly magnetic, so the white blob there is actually the ultramafic, and the contact of that ultramafic with the blue background is where the structure is, and so we've drilled it with 130-odd holes, and just finished crunching out that resource number, and I'm writing the announcement as we speak, so the resource will be delivered in the next little while. And this is just on surface. We did have a few access issues south of the railway. The railway's cutting across that figure diagonally, and a little triangular paddock south of the railway. We only got access there last December and managed to knock that part of the drill out in a couple of months, and we'll get that resource to you in coming days. But just talk about some of these intercepts. Hole 87, coincidentally 87 meters of 1 3/4% copper and half a gram gold. Lovely intercept, that'll fall in the open pit, in the optimization, but just like to make the point that this deposit is typically characterized by very consistent subintervals of higher grade mineralization. So the basal intercept here is 9 meters at 4.1% copper and almost 2 grams gold. That position is very, very reliable. We often get very high grades on that lower contact. But in this case, we also have another subinterval of 24 meters at 4.2% and 1 1/4 grams gold. So the point is that this is not only amenable to open pit mining, but it's also attractive from an underground perspective because you've got these really quite coherent high grade zones. And to illustrate that point again, in this particular figure, 144 meters at over 1% copper and 0.15 gold. A little bit fortuitous, this drill hole. It went through the chalcocite blanket, which is shaded in orange there. That's the secondary copper mineralization coming off the primary high grade. And then it goes into the kaolite proper, which is that 85 meters at 1.5% copper and 1/4 gram gold. And that's very vanilla for us, but again, illustrating that basal contact, 28 meters at 3.3% copper and half a gram gold, very reliable on that position. So we're very, very happy with the consistency of this deposit along strike. Some more recent hits, and these are a little bit deeper, and this sort of speaks to the underground potential, the almost 400 meters deep, but 43 meters at 2.6% copper and almost half a gram gold. Again, with a nice, sweet subinterval of 3 meters at 10% copper and 3 grams gold. It is really pretty stuff to look at from a geologist's point of view. And this photograph here is absolutely gorgeous from a geologist's perspective. It's what I consider to be rock porn. Sorry to mention porn twice in my presentation. But this rock is spectacular. Specular hematite, magnetite, chalcopyrite, and rhythmic bands. It is really sexy. So again, a really good hit at depth, 10.4 meters at 4.3% copper, 3 grams gold with a subinterval of 5 meters at almost 7% copper and 7 grams gold. So what's not to like about that? In long section, it's a plunging ore body to the southeast. Those more recent holes are down on the bottom right-hand side. Hole 182 and 173 is the big pink blob down there. We've got a lot more drilling to do down there. The resource that is coming is there's an open pit resource based on an optimized open pit, and then at a higher cutoff grade of 1%, we'll also be quoting a underground resource. But clearly there's a lot more work to be done in terms of the depth potential of this deposit. So just to highlight that, as mentioned, we have got hits in these three structures down to depths of in excess of a kilometre downhole. Hole 45 was, I think it was 1,075 meters was the intercept. But we've just been focusing on that upper portion, on that ultramafic contact fault where the discovery hole, hole 50, was. We've had more recent hits just under that low-angle structure, starting to flesh out what looks like a pretty robust underground. A lot more drilling to do, but 43 meters at 2.6%, and then 182 came through with 10.4 meters at 4.3%, plus 3 grams. Further down, about 550, 600 meters on the copper lode splay, that next structure across, 6 meters at almost 7% and a gram gold in hole 32, and further down in hole 44 wedge 1 on the copper lode splay, 18 meters at 3.6% copper and a quarter gram gold. So this thing is incredibly consistent over a very tall vertical extent. So it's in excess of 1 kilometer. We've just finished the drill out in this area. That's the area that we've been focused on drilling it out. We've drilled it out to quite a tight density of 40 by 40 drill holes, so a pretty high quality resource with a lot of indicated resources. But our job really now, once we deliver this resource, is to flesh out what the underground looks like and to confirm that we've got mineralization on these other 2 structures. This is the way we see it developing. It's an initial open pit, or phase 1 open pit as we describe it, and then you come off the base of that open pit with the underground infrastructure, and you start mining those 3 mineralized structures concurrently. And when you think of that in the context of the rate of vertical advance in an underground mine of maybe 50 or 60 meters per year, that underground, if it's 1 kilometer tall, represents a 2-decade mine life after the open pit is completed. So we've got a tiger by the tail here. It's a big deposit, vertically extensive. We've got a lot of work to do, but the public and the investing public will get a good look at the resource in the next couple of days, and that's just for that top portion. Just a quick one about Carroll's. It's over near Ararat. It's quite sweet, 2% copper, half gram gold. We've drilled it 800 meters in strike, 250 meters vertically, and it's still going, still open at depth. Our latest hole, 6 meters at 3% copper and 0.4 grams gold. So the plan is just, as I've described it, we finish that drill out. We'll redeploy the drills later on this year and start defining Cayley at depth and the other structures. We'll drill down on the Carroll's VMS that's still open and quite sweet grade. And the whole idea is that we'll demonstrate that we can justify the development based on the phase 1, and that you've got, then once you've paid for that, you've got 20 years of underground mine life to go. We've got lots of regional exploration opportunities, and I won't really dwell on these too much, just to point out that the known prospects here are only within a 20-kilometer area of what we call subcrop, so the rocks are thinly exposed, whereas down to the south and east, there's a lot of basalt cover, so no one's seen the basement rocks there without drilling, and up to the north, there's transported cover from the Grampians up to the north. And so there's a lot of undercover work. We flew a gravity gradiometer survey last year at a cost of about $1.2 million, and that's really helped us put together our regional targeting. So these are 19 targets that the team has come up with. We've tested about half of those. We're still waiting for about half of the assay results to come, but we have about an 80% success rate of drilling through basalt and undercover and hitting alteration, sulfides, and quartz veining. It has led to the discovery of the Toro West porphyry a couple of months ago, and it's just located here in another belt, in fact. It's a genuine porphyry system. It's got an epithermal overprint of high-grade gold on it. This is a discovery under 30 meters of cover. It's blind. There's no outcrop whatsoever, and we've been able to identify that discovery. It looks a bit simple to me in terms of only one phase of mineralization, but to me the takeaway is that our methodology of targeting undercover is working. It's resulting in discoveries. If this one doesn't make it, perhaps the next one does. We're at the very end of this sort of work chart, getting into that mineral resource estimate, and scoping studies underway. I can't give you a guarantee when the scoping study is coming, in that we're assessing the underground production potential of Cayley lode given those high grades that we've intercepted recently. Copper, future-facing commodity. We need it for electrification of vehicles, wind farms, solar panels, et cetera, et cetera. There's just not nearly enough supply to meet the demand, and let alone deposits that are newly discovered in first world jurisdictions. So that's exactly what we are. Good quality deposit, high grade, first world jurisdiction, and a bright future ahead of us with a deposit that we've only just scratched. So thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it, and great to be here. Thank you.